Welcome to AES IPL Harding Street Generation Station. The safety of our employees, contract workers on our site, and the public is paramount to the work we do here at IPL. Your employer has established safe work practices for the protection of you and others who may be working nearby. We expect that you and all of our contractors follow these safe work practices established by your employers and IPL for this job site. The following video outlines some of the safe work practices established by IPL that you will be expected to follow. These safe work practices and our safety expectations have been discussed in more detail with your supervisor. While conducting work at IPL's Harding Street Station, you shall comply with all federal and state regulations and IPL's safety rules that apply to the work being performed. While on our site, we want your visit to be a safe and healthy one. The IPL Harding Street entry and exit are through the main security gate. There are two ways to enter: escorted by an IPL employee, commonly referred to as a contractor administrator, and non-escorted, badged and approved through authorized IPL security, and shall have an approved drug testing card such as CCS and a valid TSA card known as a TWIC card. While on site, no photos may be taken without prior approval by an IPL contractor administrator. Due to security concerns, photo identification will be required before entering. Smoking is only allowed in designated areas. See your contractor administrator for the designated areas. Random drug testing may be required. All vehicles and personnel entering or exiting our site are subject to search. The plant public address system is the primary notification of plant emergencies and equipment startup. There are two shelter locations. The primary shelter area for plant evacuations is east of the administration building. The secondary shelter is located behind the maintenance shop. The tornado shelter is located in the basement of the old units on the north end of the plant. The IPL emergency tones are: fire alarm is a siren, hazmat alarm is a warble, medical alarm is a gated siren, severe weather is a slow beep, earthquake is a high, low, rescue is a fast pulse. For reference to alarm tones and emergency contacts at this plant, stickers are available for your hard hats. AES believes in and encourages the practice of stop work. If you are in a situation that you believe is not safe, you need to exercise your stop work authority to protect yourself and the people around you. If you are performing your work activities and you are unsure of the safe work practices to follow, ask your supervisor or your IPL contractor administrator. Here are some examples of safe work practices for which you may have questions. The personal protective equipment to use for a particular activity. The selection of a proper anchorage point for fall protection. Proper lockout, tagout procedures. Proper practices to follow when working in confined spaces. Remember, these are just a few examples of stop work authority. There are many other times where stop work authority could be used. Do not take any shortcuts when it comes to safety. No job is so important and no service is so urgent that we cannot take the time to perform our work safely. Safety is our first value at AES IPL, and working safely is a requirement for anyone working with us or for us. Your family and friends are counting on you to come home safely and free from harm. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to working safely. Every day, millions of lives hang in the balance as serious workplace risks present themselves. From the obvious threats to the too often overlooked work hazards, the common thread that binds those facing risks on the job is the importance of safety compliance. Workplace safety is a subject that cannot be taken for granted and will not be taken lightly. The contractor rules provided in this program do not replace your existing safety and health programs. Rather, they serve to enhance the safety measures already in place, and even more importantly, they serve to protect you. If you do not follow IPL's established safety rules, you will be reported to the IPL Contractor Administrator and will be subject to discipline that may result in your removal from the job site. The IPL employee that is assigned to watch over your group during the work, commonly referred to as a Contractor Administrator, will cover a documentation known as a Contractor Health and Safety Contractor Project, specific contractor safety rules. This document will be covered with the supervisor of the group. The supervisor will then communicate this discussion with his or her work group. Contractor Health and Safety Contractor Project, specific contractor safety rules. The intent of the project-specific form is a documented means for IPL to exchange safety information with contractors performing maintenance or construction work activities on IPL property or an IPL-controlled worksite. The form identifies a number of hazardous conditions known to IPL that the contractor may encounter while performing work within the scope of the project. The form identifies IPL's safety-related expectations with respect to these potential hazards. All OSHA-mandated hazard information that is exchanged between IPL and the contractor is on the form: confined spaces, competent persons, etc. If the scope of the project changes, new and/or previously unrecognized hazards become known to either IPL or the contractor, or if the contractor's competent qualified person changes, a new or revised form shall be completed. Cardinal safety rules are IPL's rules that, if violated, have a high probability of resulting in serious adverse outcomes. Contractors shall ensure that employees working under their control do not violate these cardinal safety rules. Failure to comply with these rules will result in immediate corrective action for you, and, if IPL determines it appropriate, your employer, up to and including termination from the current IPL project and removal from consideration for future IPL projects. IPL cardinal safety rules are the following: never operate an energy isolation device that is locked and/or tagged out. Never remove a lock and/or tag from an energy isolation. Never work within minimum safe electrical clearances without following all live line procedures. If a line is not grounded or under lotto, it shall be considered energized and treated as such when working in its proximity. Never enter a confined space without conducting a hazard assessment for atmospheric and physical hazards. Never work at an elevated work position in an aerial device, bucket trucks, and articulating boom lifts without using an approved personal fall arrest system. Never enter trenches and/or excavations 5 feet or more in depth without the authorization of an on-site competent person as defined by OSHA. All contractors performing work on or visiting IPL work sites and/or facilities shall comply with the IPL Substance Abuse Program for contractors. For example, IPL policy prohibits reporting to perform work on IPL property while under the influence of drugs or alcohol, consuming or possessing alcohol or unauthorized drugs while on IPL property, performing any work when using prescription medication that can cause drowsiness and otherwise impair the employee's ability to perform the work in a safe manner. IPL policy also prohibits firearms and other weapons on the premises at all times. IPL fully complies with all environmental laws, ensure proper disposal of all waste, comply with IPL's spill response and reporting program, Any waste disposal container shall be approved by a contractor administrator. Contractors intending to bring any chemicals shall be pre-approved by the contractor administrator, provide SDS, and shall comply with all applicable state and federal regulations and IPL requirements, including, but not limited to, the following. The contractor shall ensure all containers of hazardous chemicals under their control are labeled with product identity, health and physical hazard information, product manufacturer, the name of the contractor controlling the chemical. The contractor is also responsible for taking the steps to ensure the safety of personnel where hazardous materials are used, stored, or transported. All chemicals brought on site shall have accompanying SDS. All flammable and combustible chemicals shall be stored where they are not subject to hot work or other sources of ignition. Data sheets for all chemicals used by IPL are available upon request. IPL uses the GHS labeling system for all non-original portable containers. The contractor shall immediately report to the contractor administrator any spill or release of a hazardous chemical, substance, or waste at an IPL facility or worksite. Movement around the exterior of the plant. The main entry road is limited to 30 miles per hour. The plant speed limit directly surrounding the generation buildings is 15 miles per hour and should be followed at all times. If you need to drive equipment and materials to your location, you shall make arrangements through the contractor administrator. The contractor administrator will inform you of appropriate parking locations for your personal or company vehicles. Contractors may not transport employees in the beds of trucks while on IPL premises. Loads that are being delivered or moved by backing will require a dedicated spotter. Contractors shall be aware of blind spots and keep their work group and all others out of potentially high-risk areas. All personal protective equipment shall be appropriate for the hazards present. This includes, but is not limited to, eyewear, hard hats, respirators, hearing protection, personal fall arrest devices, protective clothing, and protective footwear. Approved hard hats and approved eyewear with side shields, including prescription eyewear, shall be worn at all times in construction areas and in and around the power plant and other buildings except in exempt areas. You will be expected to have the minimum PPE to be on site. Steel-toed boots, high-vis hard hat, safety glasses, FR clothing category 2, and hearing protection on your person at all times. This is the minimum PPE, and depending upon the project, additional PPE or procedures may be required. Your escort or contractor administrator can provide additional information. Any contractor's employee who appears unable to perform his or her job in a safe manner or exhibits any type of behavior inappropriate for the workplace, including horseplay, will be reported to the employee's supervisor for evaluation and possible removal from the site. IPL requires that a documented pre-job briefing, including a safety analysis, be completed at least once per shift for all jobs and repeated any time a scope of work changes. All contractor employees shall actively participate and ensure that all potential hazards are eliminated or mitigated. Electrical requirements. While on the premises, you shall provide electrical ground fault protection. This includes extension cords and when working in wet or damp areas. If you have any questions, see your supervisor or the contractor administrator. Barricades and covers. All barricades shall be tagged with an information tag identifying the date the barricade was erected. You are responsible for placing the barricade and listing on the tag the purpose of the barricade. IPL does not consider warning tape to be a hard physical barrier and will not allow it to be used to physically isolate a hazardous condition. If the scope of work requires the removal of existing guardrails, handrails, floor grading, or other physical barriers, the IPL contractor administrator shall approve such removal in advance. Barriers that have been removed to facilitate work, such as handrails and/or grading, shall be properly replaced as soon as the work is completed. Unguarded openings shall be barricaded with hard barricades. Holes shall be covered with material suitable for all expected loads on the structure. Hole coverings shall be marked whole, and the covering shall be secured. All contractors shall receive authorization from the contractor administrator before performing work in areas posted as dangerous or hazardous. Caution or warning tape shall be used to signal dangerous areas of hazardous work. All tape shall contain tags. Caution tape is yellow in color, and it is used to alert workers to a hazardous condition. Workers may cross yellow caution tape after they read the tag and fully understand the potential hazards. Danger tape is red in color and is used to alert workers of a significant known hazard. Danger tape shall not be crossed unless the owner of the area designated on the tag provides specific approval. Caution or danger tape shall include an informational tag that lists the name of the person who hung the tape and the date, time, and purpose for the barrier. Whoever is controlling the area with red or yellow tape shall put their direct contact phone number on the tag. If a hazard is created that requires a hard barricade, all barricades shall meet OSHA requirements. For your protection, you are required to stay in your assigned location unless you receive authorization from the contractor administrator to enter another area of the facility. This facility has security requirements set by the North American Electric Corporation, NERC. Several areas of this facility are defined as Critical Infrastructure Protection Areas, or CIP, and require background security checks prior to entry. Incident reporting. You shall immediately report all contractor-related incidents, including accidents requiring medical attention, property damage, and learning opportunities, or a near miss, to the IPL contractor administrator. A serious injury is any injury and/or illness that is OSHA recordable. A learning opportunity, or near miss, is defined as a work-related, unintended, unplanned, and unexpected event that could have but did not result in personal injury requiring treatment more than first aid. A learning opportunity may also be an incident or action that, left unaddressed, could result in personal injury. A learning opportunity is an opportunity to improve environmental health and safety practices. The contractor administrator may periodically authorize contractor use of IPL equipment, provided the contractor employee is qualified and trained in its safe operation. An equipment liability waiver form shall be completed and signed by the contractor's foreman or superintendent. The contractor shall conduct and document a daily inspection of mobile equipment, including but not limited to forklifts, JLGs, scissor lifts, and cranes. Operators of mobile equipment shall wear hard hats and safety glasses unless the equipment has a fully enclosed cab. Mobile equipment shall be equipped with backup alarms whenever possible. When not possible, a spotter shall be utilized to ensure the safe movement of the equipment, or an audible alarm, such as a horn, shall be sounded whenever the equipment is moved in the reverse direction or in areas where people are present. hot work. Contractors performing welding, cutting, burning operations, or spark-producing grinding shall comply with all state and federal regulations and IPL requirements, including but not limited to the following. It is important to note that this facility consumes large amounts of natural gas. Initial air monitoring is required before conducting any hot work. An IPL written hot work permit shall be used. Level 1 areas are high hazardous areas like cooling tower areas. A dedicated continuous fire watch shall be provided for 60 minutes after the completion of cutting or welding in Level 1 areas, and 3 hourly rechecks of the area shall be completed. Level 2 areas are areas where combustible materials are present or may be accessible by sparks or slag. Examples of combustible materials include cable trays, insulation on conductors, visqueen, or scaffold boards. A dedicated continuous fire watch shall be provided for 30 minutes after the completion of cutting or welding in Level 2 areas. Level 3 areas are areas where no combustibles are present. An example of a Level 3 area would be a gravel parking lot designated as a cutting or welding area. These areas can only be designated by an IPL contractor administrator prior to any hot work being conducted. An inspection of the area shall be provided 30 minutes after the job completion to ensure the area remains safe. Fire blankets and caution tape shall be used as required to prevent people, flammable or combustible materials from coming into contact with sparks or slag from hot work operations. Hydrogen lines, painted orange, shall not be used for welding ground. When transporting bottles or carts, the regulators shall be removed and cylinders capped. If torch carts are not going to be used within a 24-hour period, they shall be stored properly by removing the regulators, capping the cylinders, and either separating the bottles by at least 20 feet or placing them within a 30-minute fire-rated barrier. All compressed gas cylinders shall be stored in an upright, secured position with regulators removed and protective valve caps in place. Compressed gas fuels and oxidizers not in use should be stored separately with a minimum separation distance of 20 feet. If fuel gases and oxidizers shall be stored together, a non-combustible barrier of at least 5 feet or 1.5 meters high, having a fire resistance rating of at least 1/2 hour, shall be used. Control of energy sources, lockout, tagout procedures. The Harding Street Station Hazardous Energy Control Program is commonly referred to as the Lockout Tagout Program. Additionally, clearance permits are used to track both equipment isolation information and authorized personnel working on isolated equipment. A clearance permit is documentation combined with a method to properly isolate equipment from hazardous energy. It is imperative that communication takes place between IPL and contractors to ensure everyone's safety when working on or around hazardous energy sources. Prior to the start of work activities requiring equipment isolation, the contractor shall request a clearance from the IPL contractor administrator to ensure appropriate de-energizing of equipment. All equipment isolation will be performed by an IPL representative, then inspected by the contractor. Contractors shall not operate valves or breakers. Locks are used to secure energy isolation devices. Tags only may be used when the isolation device cannot accept a lock. All workers shall be locked on to a lockbox or equipment isolation point to ensure their individual protection from hazardous energy sources. Specifically, contractors and subcontractors working at the Harding Street Station shall comply with all the following lockout-tagout procedures. Contractors shall verify the equipment is properly isolated through a walk-down of the clearance isolation point or points prior to signing on to LOTO. sign on to the clearance permit. All locks on the IPL master lock boxes shall display the employee's name and contractor's name for the requested clearance. Contractors may not lock onto an IPL remote lockbox. They shall be assigned to their own lockbox. Contractor or loaner locks are green and keyed individually. Used by a contractor, the tag or label will identify the contractor's company name and the contractor's employee name. You shall receive advanced written approval from the IPL Contractor Administrator to use personal lockout/tagout procedures, and this approval shall be documented on the contractor's project's specific form. The IPL Contractor Administrator shall first place their lock on the piece of equipment to be de-energized before allowing the contractor to place their lock. Never place a lock or tag on IPL equipment without proper authorization. A few critical reminders regarding LOTO or the clearance permit procedure. Never work on a piece of equipment without proper authorization. Never work on a piece of equipment without being signed on to a proper clearance permit. When your job is complete, please remember to remove all locks and tags, and never operate IPL breakers or valves. Our operations and maintenance staff will perform these duties. All LOTO policies will be communicated to you by your contractor administrator. Ask your contractor administrator for instructions. Contractors performing electrical work shall ensure that their employees are provided with and properly use personal protective equipment to ensure protection from shock and arc flash hazards. When performing work where there may be exposure to live electrical components, barricades shall be used in conjunction with warning signs to prevent or limit access to work areas containing live parts. Barricades shall be placed no closer than the flash protection boundary, which is at least 4 feet from live parts unless the equipment is labeled otherwise. However, contractors shall comply with the posted calculated distance for the flash protection boundary. If barricades and signs do not provide sufficient protection or cannot be used, an attendant shall be assigned to warn and protect unqualified people. The primary duty of the attendant will be to keep non-qualified people out of the area where electrical hazards exist. The attendant shall remain in the area as long as there is a potential electrical hazard. When live parts cannot be placed into a de-energized state because de-energizing produces greater hazards or is infeasible due to equipment design or operational limitations, the task to be performed shall be considered energized electrical work and require the completion of an electrical live work permit before the work may begin. Only qualified electrical workers, QEW, may perform work under this type of permit. Your company is responsible for training and designating who is a qualified electrical worker. The electrical live work permit shall be completed by the qualified person who will perform the task and approved by the contractor's management representative. It shall then be delivered to the IPL Contractor Administrator for review and approved before the work begins. The approved permit shall be reviewed during the pre-job briefing by all people working on the task to help ensure all safety precautions are taken and appropriate personal protection equipment is used. Areas where lifting is taking place shall be appropriately marked with caution tape to effectively prevent people from walking into the area. The use of a spotter is required. If you are operating a mobile crane or any boom-equipped heavy equipment requiring a boom to be extended near electrical lines or equipment, a qualified employee shall first identify the voltage present, verify the electrical status of the lines or equipment, and provide you with the applicable safe work clearances you shall maintain. If the voltage is unknown, minimum required clearance is 20 feet. You shall follow Applicable OSHA regulations and manufacturer's instructions for crane operations, including but not limited to, critical lift plans shall be developed by a qualified person and then submitted to the IPL Contractor Administrator for review and approval before crane operation. All parties involved shall conduct a meeting prior to any critical lift to ensure that employees know how to perform the lift safely. Harding Street utilizes a permit system for excavations. Your IPL representative will guide you through the permit process. Permits ensure underground utilities have been identified and soil conditions assessed. Identify the proper use of sloping and benching for the work, and determine the need for a rescue team. Your employer shall provide a competent person when performing excavations and/or trenching operations as required by federal and state OSHA standards and IPL. A competent person shall submit to the IPL Contractor Administrator a completed IPL excavations and trenching work permit prior to commencement of the excavation work. This facility contains many OSHA-defined confined spaces. All confined spaces on IPL property are permit required. IPL uses the term high hazard for permit required spaces. Additionally, the contractor shall meet the following requirements. Perform your own air monitoring prior to initial entry. Contractors should utilize their own air monitoring equipment and provide proof of training on the specific equipment. Re-entering monitoring when the space has been left unattended. And continuous monitoring for high hazard confined workspace. All readings shall be logged on the permit. The written permit shall be posted outside the entry to the space and made available for review. Inform the contractor administrator immediately when contractor employees and/or work operations creates an atmospheric health or serious physical hazard to which IPL employees or contractor employees are exposed. A full body harness shall be worn by all entrants during confined space operations. Qualified rescue teams are required to be signed on to the entry permit for all high-hazard, permit-required, confined spaces. The contractor is responsible for training and providing the rescue team. During outage periods, IPL may provide the rescue team through contracted services. A communication channel with the assigned rescue team shall be established prior to entering the confined space. The rescue team is required to have a radio and shall document on the permit the name of all entrants and their time of entry into and exit out of the confined space. The contractor shall implement and document a fall management plan using the IPL authorization to work at heights permit to provide 100% fall protection for employees under its control who are working at elevations of 6 feet or greater. The plan shall either eliminate fall hazards or provide for employee protection in accordance with the American National Standards Institute, also known as ANSI Z.359 family of standards, IPL requirements, and state and federal OSHA regulations. Fall management planning addresses the use of personal fall arrest systems, scaffolding, walking work surfaces, ladders, floors, wall openings, and rescue. The use of body belts is prohibited on IPL work sites. A full body harness with SLR, self-retracting lifeline, is the preferred method. A shock-absorbing lanyard, not more than 6 feet long, may be used if there is adequate fall distance as calculated on the permit. All snap hooks and carabiners shall have a 3,600 pound or higher gauge strength rating. All components of a fall arrest system, including but not limited to anchorage connector, shock absorbing lanyard, self-retracting lifeline, full body harness shall be from the same fall protection equipment manufacturer and compatible. No mixing and matching of components from different fall protection equipment manufacturers will be allowed. Large throat snap hooks shall not be connected to standard size D-rings or similar objects. Large throat snap hooks may only be used on fixed structural elements such as rebar or cross members that are not shaped in a way that can capture the gait of a hook or place the body of the large throat snap hook in a transverse load. Only approved anchorage points are to be used. Conduits, pipelines, and handrails are not approved anchorage points. IPL utilizes a proprietary software package known as FPPI to validate fall protection points. Contractors are required under the terms and conditions to provide their own certified anchorage points. Steel anchorage connection shall be validated using the FPPI anchorage point selection software or a drawing stamped by a professional engineer trained as a qualified person for ANSI Z359.0 definition and ANSI Z359.2 standards for new structures. Anchorage points in concrete or attached to wooden structures shall be approved by both a qualified person and IPL. Anchorage points shall be installed at dorsal D-ring, shoulder height, or higher. Anchorage points at feet level are unique, and this type of engineered system shall be reviewed before implementation. Any questions about proper anchorage points may be addressed with the IPL contractor administrator before proceeding with the scope of work. Contractors shall provide a competent person in fall management to address the approval and use of fall protection equipment for their employees. All scaffolding shall be erected and dismantled under the control of and approved for use by a competent person who is designated by the contractor. The IPL 3 tag, red, yellow, and green, scaffolding system shall be used on all scaffolds. The IPL red tag is required when erecting or dismantling the scaffolding or when the scaffolding has a defective or damaged scaffolding component. The IPL yellow tag is required when guardrails, mid-rails, or top rails cannot be installed and or there is incomplete planking. Fall protection is to be used when scaffolds are yellow tagged. Your employer's competent person shall list on the yellow tag required anchorage point for fall protection. The IPL green tag is required when the scaffold working level is fully planked and the top rails and mid rails are installed. Green tag scaffolds don't require fall protection. Scaffolds shall be erected to a green tag if possible. When the height of a scaffold access ladder is more than 10 feet or a worker can fall to a lower elevation, the contractor shall install a self-retracting lifeline with a tag line at the top of the ladder. All ladders shall meet OSHA requirements and be used for the purpose for which they are designed. Ladders shall be in good condition and secured and stable prior to use. Please note that some jobs requiring the use of a ladder will require fall protection. Contractors working from an aerial lift, bucket truck, articulating boom lift, or other similar pieces of equipment are required to be tied off using a full body harness with a self-retracting lifeline or a hard tether. Contractors shall not exit the basket of an aerial lift while working at height unless a specific plan is approved by AES IPL. IPL has thermal systems, insulation, and surfacing materials that may contain asbestos or ACF. You may not remove, disturb, contact any thermal systems, insulation, or surfacing materials without higher authorization from the IPL contractor administrator. Report any damaged, suspect material to the IPL contractor representative immediately. Only those contractors who are properly certified and specifically contracted by IPL to remove, disturb, or contact asbestos-containing material are authorized by IPL to perform such work. You are responsible for asking IPL if any suspect material contains asbestos prior to the work being performed. IPL equipment may possess asbestos-containing gasket material. When working on equipment with gasket material, you shall assume the material contains asbestos unless there is data to support that the material is non-ACN. You are prohibited from removing or abating gasket material without written authorization from the IPL Contractor Administrator. Facility structures, structural components, and equipment may contain lead or PV-based surface coatings and substrates. You may not perform work activities that disturb surface coatings, for example, paint and/or substrates like primer, without the authorization of the IPL contractor. When these materials are encountered and could potentially be disturbed by the work being performed, work must be stopped immediately and the contractor administrator must be notified. Unless otherwise determined through objective data and/or analytical data, all surfaces and substrates must be considered lead-contained. Your employer must have a written lead program that addresses all the required elements. We want our facilities to be safe, clean, and productive. Please become partners with us in the endeavor. All of us at IPL want you to be able to go home healthy and safe to all your family and friends. Welcome to the Georgetown Road Gas Turbine Station. Georgetown Station is under constant video surveillance. Everything you've learned about the Harding Street Generation Station's safety rules and regulations apply here for the Georgetown Road Gas Turbine Station. Georgetown has specialized operators known as AE Seniors. The AE Seniors will typically serve as your contractor administrators while work is being performed at Georgetown. Georgetown is a functioning power generation facility that can be remotely started from the Harding Street Generation Station. There is also a standalone control room, which is a regulated CIP area. There are several CIP areas on the site. Please do not attempt to enter any keypad controlled area unless you have been cleared to do so. At the Georgetown Gas Turbine Station, the Tornado Safe Room is located in the building just north of the main gate.